I think some of the fear that limits people's potential, fear sometimes starves us of the ability to move forward.
Welcome back to Case Studies. I'm with my dear friend, Matt Mathison. We've been trying to get this done for a long time. And so, Matt, give me the 2025 August State of the Union for the Mathison family.
So let's start with the most important, the family.
Yep.
I have 4 kids. Oldest, out of college, he went to UT, engineer student, brilliant. He's doing the investment banking track. He's in Houston, working at Houlihan Lokey, doing that grind and on that path and thriving. My next son, George, just came home from his mission. He'll be going back to Provo, back to Cougarville in the fall, and he just can't wait. He's a huge fan, and he can't wait. He can't believe what he's stepping into athletic wise, right? After being gone for a couple of years. Next is Mary. She just graduated at summer term at BYU, and then she'll be going to the fall there. And then our baby, Francesca, she's a sophomore in high school. So stay. And my wife and I are just in that stage of, man, how does time fly? How do the kids grow up so fast? But we're just watching them and cheering them on and supporting them, and it's so fulfilling.
Happy.
Like
how sweet is it when you run? Because you're always a pretty happy person, pretty optimistic person, can-do person. But there's different sweet spots in life where you're just like, man, I'm in the sweet spot of the wave. Stuff's going great with family. I'm in a career that I'm creating a lot of value. We're growing. We got momentum. Talk to me about that. Where does this fall? Because we'll get into your career, but where does this fall into too much grind, not enough grind, the perfect amount of grind. I know there's not a balance, but there is a work-life integration where they're flowing together. And
look, I've been blessed with a very optimistic nature. I've just been blessed with it. Of course, I do things to exude that, but being happy and feeling joy at all seasons of life has been something that's it's one of my unique, gifts. Like you said, it's in my nature. And so as it comes to this stage of life, man, it's just joyful. It's an amazing stage of life. There's a lot of change coming in our family dynamic.
Kind of wild change, right?
Wild change.
You go from a family unit to cycling out, and when it happens pretty aggressively.
All at once.
It kind of is just done.
And I think it's my wife and I talk about it, and my wife, it's going to be much harder for Holly than for me. But you kind of have to renegotiate what it is that you're going all in on, because all of a sudden your kids, you can still be all in on them, but they're adults. They're out of the house. You don't, even if you stay close and you do things, you have to renegotiate kind of what you're focused on. And it's an interesting transition. So we're going to live it up for our baby, right? We got 3 more years of high school, and obviously the kids in college. I mean, there's still lots to do, but it's definitely different.
It's changing.
But awesome in just different ways.
And how do you carry that nature? Because I think this is one of the things that I've been the most attracted to you, as a person, as a leader, is you have this can-do, optimistic team, let's charge energy, this leadership. And I've, since the day that I've met you, that's been the thing that I've admired the most is I love being around people that bring good energy. I love being around people that dream big, and you dream really big, but then go to work, you know what I mean? And and joy in the work, the team loving the grind and being so proud. Where does this come from? When you go back to the roots and say, born with it, was it different mentors or training? How did, it's Matt Mathison 2025, but when you go back to the beginning, where did you build this foundation or this ethos around leadership, around team, around work, around mission?
Yeah. I think if you would have asked me even 2 years ago, my answer would have been very different. And I'll explain this. And I wrote a book about this. I initially wanted to write a book about just this crazy business episode in my life where, it's the stuff of movies, which we can talk a little bit about. It's a Chinese company, lots of crazy stuff. And I was like, man, I got to write this down. A lot of people were like, this is an incredible story. Tell it. And I was about a third of the way through writing this book about this story and just kind of paused and kind of shelved it for a little while. And as I came back to it, because I really had a desire to write this book, what I realized was kind of this whole concept of leadership orbit. And you're talking about this, but where does this come from?
Yeah.
And I found that even in the midst of something that was devastating, right? And very terrible, and disastrous from a professional standpoint, I still found myself thriving.
Yeah.
I still actually was enjoying living. I was enjoying life. I was enjoying the journey. And a lot of light bulbs came off that, the happiness, right? Or what we're seeking after, it's not found in outcomes. It's actually found in the process. And people talk about that all the time, but it's just been inborn in me. I love the journey. I love the grind.
But was that like an aha moment? Like, did you expect to say, I should be sad right now? This is hard. I can recognize this is a hard time. Why am I not sad? Why am I actually feeling really good?
Yeah. And it was a huge light bulb moment for our whole family, by the way. This should have been a moment in my life and our family's life that everyone was like a dreaded moment, a difficult moment, a sorrowful moment, a scary moment. Yeah. And we had all those feelings, but we were all thriving. And it was like, wait, why? And really trying to unpick and unravel, the reasons why we felt that level of hope and optimism and energy, even after, again, from a professional standpoint, losing it all.
Yeah. Give me some context on that.
Yeah.
Like what was the build and then what was the breakdown?
So I left college and I went to Wall Street. And I did pretty much everything you can do on Wall Street. Started on the sell side, big bulge bracket, Goldman Sachs, on a trading desk. I was research sales, IPOs, like doing that whole thing, to very entrepreneurial, starting my own broker dealer, my own research and trading firm, which then led to going to the buy side, having an RIA, launching a hedge fund, all of those things. So that was my whole career. Yeah. And I decided to leave that and bet it all on a company that I had invested in. It was a public Chinese mobile security company. And they were a mobile tech platform that had a lot. And I'll talk a lot about it. Like we think about TikTok now, or we think about autonomous driving. This was a company that was early days and on it. And they had cool tech and cool momentum.
You thought it was going to be one of those. This is like
was one of those.
Alibaba,
Bingo. Like it had the chance.
This could be one of the bigger the Facebooks of China, or you felt like it had that potential.
Yep. And I had done work. I owned it in my hedge fund. I was long it. It was extremely cheap for a bunch of reasons, which we don't need to get at. They recruited me. They basically said, Matt, you're uniquely positioned. You have all these skills. People like you and trust you. You have this energy and you seem to have conviction in what we're building. Why don't you come run capital markets for us? I was in New York with my family at the time, running my own hedge fund, and we made the decision to return all the money to investors, shut it down, move to Dallas.
It was a big bet.
Big life bet. Okay. So we did that and we went all in. Okay. So moved the family to Dallas, incredible move, loved it. The reason why Dallas is the international offices, Chinese company based in Beijing. So international then was everything outside of China, was based in Dallas. Wow. And there was an incredible team that was part of Samsung, and they had built an incredible, consumer facing kind of team and pod that this company had recruited over to run their international office. So they were based in Dallas. I wasn't going to move my family to Beijing. We moved to Dallas. running capital markets, which was a little bit of investor relations and managing the IR team, to working with the board on all things capital.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea, at the time that we did this, the stock was trading at $3 and had about a 300 million market cap.
Okay, so not a big company in comparison to like
not big
what
at
you
all.
thought it could be.
Yep,
Yeah.
but I had strong conviction this could be multiple billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I had invested in it, and we went all in. That was in July of 2013. So I went there, I sent out a message. Some of my friends still have that message like framed. And it was basically like, here's why I'm betting. I'm going all in. Here's why. Listed out. I knew the short story. I knew the risk. I knew all these things. Here's why I'm betting all in. Okay. From July to October of 2013 in the seat, stock went from 3 to 25. Okay. 300 million market cap to a couple billion market cap. I'm all in. Company had given me a nice package, not cash comp package, had a lot of equity. I had personally, we'd gone all in. We're there. So on paper at the time, it's home run status, hero status. Okay. Everything's going good. Muddy Waters in October of 2013 put out an 82-page report. Muddy Waters, famous short selling firm, and they alleged all sorts of irregularities. By the way, in that report, the irregularities that they alleged, old story, it just kind of rehashed stuff. When the company went public, the reason why it was so inexpensive and cheap is it was coming at a time in which Chinese companies had a bad rap, and there were a couple of frauds that were big kind of blow up things.
Yeah.
So here I was. Okay, stock tumbled. It went down a lot, but we were like rolled up our sleeves and we're like, okay, we can handle this. Let's go. And so we went to work and went through this whole process to address transparently with investors, with the auditors, with the New York Stock Exchange, all the irregularity like allegations. Kind of put it to frame it for you. If the stock went from kind of mid 20s back to low double digits, $10 to $12.
Still good stock.
Keep in mind, 3 to 25, back to 10 to 12. Nothing crazy. We actually got it back to just about the highs about 3 months later. But it was extreme stress to the max. This was very serious stuff. And remember, I'm in Dallas. A lot of the goings on were obviously in China.
Okay.
And there were real questions and real issues that we were working through. To kind of put a button on the story, this led to a couple-year process where at the end of the day, at the end of this road, in order for the company to really move forward and do what it was doing, it needed to effectively remove its chairman. Chairman was doing some bad things. Found out about it, figured it out, had it all lined out, and ultimately the company and the board of the company had to make a decision. And they decided to effectively fleece the U.S. investors, go dark, delist, steal the assets. Okay. During this time, I'm on the inside, not a board member, not a director, but head of capital markets, having to manage investors, having to manage auditors, having to manage all this stuff. And it just extreme pressure, extreme stress.
But they basically left you high and dry.
Okay. Left me along with all of our shareholders, along with all of our investors high and dry. And it came to a point where I was doing everything internally to like hopefully help the company both get through it, make the decisions, and then do its thing.
Yeah.
Because companies go through all kinds of, ups and downs, and this was unique, but it was all manageable. And it came to a point where I had to decide whether or not I would just resign and walk away and say, hey, I can't do this anymore, or continue to fight, but fight in a different way. And I decided to fight in a different way. And that included obviously going to the board, going to the New York Stock Exchange, going to the SEC, going to the auditors, doing the whole thing around, hey, I've got to call it what it is. I've got to whistle blow. I've got to try. And long story short, we put together a shareholder action in which we tried to get a shareholder vote to remove the member of the board, and moved this forward. Lots of litigation. Many of the lawsuits we won in New York. We had a receivership put in place. We did all these things, but ultimately getting money out of China. Couldn't do it. So I was faced with a total loss. And not only loss of financial, right? But that's a crisis of confidence. You have all of the people that are close to you that trust you that also lost along the way. I mean, it was a full and total, loss. So in that moment, that's the moment I'm talking about. And by the way, that whole story, we could talk for hours about that and crazy stories. But it was in that moment in writing I'll write a book about that because it's so cool. That's when like the light bulb went off to bring it all the way back. Like, wait a second, we should be in the depths of despair. We should be angry. We should be negative. We should be, but we're thriving.
Family was doing good.
Family's doing good, even in spite of the hardship. Mental health doing good. We're still finding joy, right? In those moments. And that's when the light bulb came off. Is just like, hey, each of us in our lives, we have different seasons. We have different trials. We have different struggles. We have different triumphs, successes, and we have different failures and lows.
Yep.
And you know what? You can thrive during it all. It doesn't mean you have to be happy, like excited, gleeful during those seasons, but you can find joy.
Yeah.
I think some of the fear that limits people's potential, fear sometimes starves us of the ability to move forward.
Do you think it was just you?
Yeah.
Do you think it's experiencing what you would say is rock bottom and then realizing I'm not dead?
Yeah.
I'm just fine. Do you think it is actually like empowering?
Yes.
Till you get there and you say, I'm fine. Like you could, this is worst case outcome for this opportunity. If you take a full range of outcomes,
worst case,
how could it be worse than this outcome? And it didn't kill me.
Yep. Not only did it not kill me, it's opened the door and created so much more opportunity and learnings. And again, remove the fear of whatever that is. Failure, rock bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, like struggles. I can't. And if you gain conviction that all is well, all can be well, regardless of those worst case scenarios, now you remove fear, and that increases your ability to, one, maintain optimism and hope. But most importantly, just you can keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And if you can gain, like, if that becomes your definition of thriving, not thriving equals some successful exit or some achievement in work or my kids end up doing something. Like, if you remove that definition and make it be like, no, I can keep moving forward, man, life becomes really exciting.
In that moment, you were happy. Fast forward to today, what did you learn? Like, if you were to document like this as you've done your postmortem, like, what do you take with you today that, one, gives you confidence, but two, gives you caution to say, hey, I'll do this different to avoid that outcome in the future? Or was it just, I did everything right or everything within my power and the cards just didn't fall as, you know what I mean? Like, what's kind of the postmortem of it? Oh,
there is so much learning, which again, I tried to put into my book, which is really interesting. The business learnings and the personal learnings kind of merge into one, but let me highlight a couple of them. To me, truth and transparency are truly the antidote to like all things that like create negativity or bad outcomes.
Yeah.
If someone is willing to be vulnerable, to stare at truth transparently, they're willing to progress and advance. You can't lose if that is your mindset.
Yep.
That's an individual, personal like statement. It's also for business and organizations. And so where there lacks truth and where there lacks transparency, that either creates an opportunity or it creates the red flags that I want to avoid.
Yeah.
So that's one of the learnings. And again, in relationships, in personal like matters, or in business dealings. It's the same thing. Seek after truth. How are you supposed to progress if you're not dealing with truth?
Yeah.
And there's just a whole, like that's huge. Second, you have to, you have to always, ultimately decide who you choose to be with. Again, in personal matters and or in business.
How profound is that?
The who
Yeah.
is the ultimate question, not the what.
Yeah.
Because if you're with the right people who want to progress and advance, you can do anything. You
Yeah.
can overcome anything. Failure isn't a thing. It's just a stepping stone,
Yeah.
right? If you're with the wrong who, it becomes a negative cycle, an energy suck, and sometimes ultimately a death trap.
Yeah.
Right. And that's obviously a big learning. And then the only other thing, again, long list of learnings, but the other thing that I would say is you have to know that in business and in life, there's so many chapters. And what you're currently like really geeked up about and really focused on and really believe going all in, it's just going to be a chapter.
Dude,
it's just a chapter.
That is so profound.
And I think understanding that, Casey, allows me to maintain optimism and hope regardless.
Yeah.
And in business, as you know, people seek after people that can, no matter what, through the thick, through the thin, through the good, through the bad, who's going to keep us moving forward?
Oh my gosh, they're unicorns. Like
you want it, you crave it, and it doesn't have it. In fact, what I'm so interested in helping is to create that feeling and that confidence way below the C-suite. In business, it's not about the C-suite, right? Can you create an organization where that leadership trait exists everywhere and you reward that? That's powerful. And I think in society, most of the big challenges that exist are going to be solved from that dynamic, not from top-down level dynamics.
No, it makes sense. I was thinking about kind of that principle of like who you do it with, who you go on the journey with. So talk about today. Talk about Allevio, because this has been a fun, the theme of this podcast is case studies.
Yep.
And this is a fun case study for me because me and you worked together. I was a part of a company. You were a part of another company. We merged those companies together, worked with you as a board member. You were the CEO, and we had a low moment.
Yeah.
Like a hard moment.
Yeah.
And I had one of these interactions with one of our employees the other day, and she was referencing kind of a hard experience with another member of the team. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to give her counsel and just saying, if you're going to progress in your career, you need to learn how to have hard conversations and move forward.
Yep.
Not hold grudges, move forward. But I was thinking about this experience, and it was kind of a heated moment in that cycle at that business.
Yep.
And me and you got together, and you kind of gave me as direct feedback as I've ever received from anybody. But there was something about that feedback, and I've actually thought about this, because I'm like, I want to be somebody that can give hard feedback. I can tell the truth. Right. But people feel love. Yep. They feel concern and care, and it has nothing to do with the message. The message is truth, and the message is direct, and you're not mincing words. Mm-hmm. But the feeling is, I care about you. Mm-hmm. Instead of, I'm trying to hurt you, I'm trying to, and I didn't feel that from you. I felt, you obviously felt the way that you felt, but it was a turning point in our relationship. And so talk about that to the company that you've built and the steps in between. Yeah. Great moment that you're referencing, but it goes back to kind of truth and transparency. And there's absolute truth, and then there's individual views and opinions. And so you don't mince that up. But at that moment,
I shared with you direct like feelings that I had transparently. And we got to truth in the matter, which was
I think
expectations were off. I may have thought something and you didn't deliver that. And therefore I was disappointed and I had higher hopes and all that. But the key is to what you just said was this wasn't about proving a point. This wasn't about, oh, I'll show you. This wasn't about, hey, you did something and I'm better. Like this was about in our professional situational relationship at the time, we both weren't delivering for each other.
Yeah.
And we had to get to that moment. And I took it the same way. I took the feedback and the information that you were sharing back to me with the full understanding that this is like, hey, I think that there's some opportunities to work together better and to do things differently that would actually create value. And we weren't creating value together in that specific moment.
It was fascinating for me because your exact feedback was you were one of the people that I was the most excited to work with. Mm-hmm. And I've been so disappointed in the results.
Right.
And I took that as like, I need to be better. Like if I'm not delivering for Matt, one, I need to understand your expectations better.
Yep.
And two, I need to deliver. Like to my core, I'm a person that puts more into the pot than I take out every time. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not doing that with a relationship that I care about. And so anyway, we kind of separate from there.
Right.
And life happens.
Yep.
And I think about this a lot. Todd Peterson is one of the best people I've ever seen at not burning bridges, at keeping relationships open, mm-hmm. at having a short memory. And it served him so well in his career. I could give you, so many of these examples, but I think about what happened next. And you transition from that role. We had a good enough relationship that I could call you mm-hmm. and say, hey, there's both for our own company.
Yep. The
things that you did at that company we're terrible at. Can you help us? Mm-hmm. And then secondly, hey, we have this opportunity, in this podiatry space. Can you go look at it? You know what I mean? And a lot's happened since then.
A lot has happened. But I go back to that moment. And if thriving is about progressing and advancing, what happened was, yes, we kind of went our separate ways, did different things. I had launched MBL Partners. You were obviously doing your thing. But in a moment, for some reason, you thought about some of the things that we had done that we were good at that you thought you needed. And you picked up the phone.
Yep.
And I took that phone call and you remember you said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing in podiatry. And like, what do you think? And I was like, I have no idea. Not interested. Kind of had some conversation. Hey, and then we kind of came back with what if we actually went in and took a look at it and gave you an unbiased view? And then in that world, we're going to get smart about it ourselves. Yep. You're going to get smart about it. And then maybe there'll be something to do. And,
yep.
and the Allevio story was born out of that journey. And it's been remarkable. And
so talk to me about what you found, because again, it was one of those that the genesis of this is my brother-in-law, Marcin, builds this really awesome business. Starts with nothing, from scratch, builds kind of a 10 million revenue, 1 to 2 million EBITDA business, single owner, him and Brittany. And it's Thanksgiving. And he says, hey, I'm getting hit by private equity like every week or every other mm-hmm. week. Would you buy in? And I'm like, I don't know anything about medical or that space. I'm like, I would invest just personally, a small check just to be your partner. But if you want to go scale it, we need like a real operator. We need somebody that can go build a platform. And that led to, who do I know that's really good at building platforms and scaling? I'm like, well, Matt. So I call you and say, hey, he's in Houston. You're in Dallas. You're unemployed. Right. Like, this feels like it could be something. And I remember your answer was just like, I'm not interested in being a CEO or an operator again, but we did start this consulting firm with my, brother-in-law, Jimmy, which ended up meeting Jimmy, and he's fantastic. We do it as a consult. And that to me was good too. Cause I'm like, I don't have the time or the capability to go get smart on this thing. But if you blessed it, you'd at least maybe help us find who could be an operator, or you just tell me, I think it's the wrong opportunity.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we try and simplify our approach to doing that type of analysis. At the end of the day, we call it a Thrive Playbook. And again, I'm using that word Thrive because we really love it and we love our definition of it. But the Thrive Playbook is simply set up to analyze, does an idea or an organization or a company actually sit inside of a market with tailwinds and growth opportunity or not? That's relevant information. Yep. 2, does it have the right team, structure, processes, playbook in place to actually execute and compete? And 3, we're maniacally focused on cash flow management. Does the company have the right capital structure, budget, ability to generate returns and seek for outside capital for growth? And that we synthesize that in a Thrive Playbook. And so we went and did this Thrive Playbook on your brother-in-law's podiatry business. And we spent a couple of months getting smart about the industry.
Yep.
Many people confuse podiatry with pediatrics.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a lot of people.
It's just nope. It's so we got smart about the industry.
Yep. Lower
extremity care, foot care, below the knee care. We got smart about how are people running these businesses.
Yep.
What's the norms? What's all those things. And then we dove deep into this particular practices, businesses. How's cash? Where does it flow? Yep. How's it managed? Where's the inefficiencies? And we basically came back with, I think you remember the call. Hey, Casey, I don't think you should invest in this practice. We actually have something crazier to talk about. And we saw a huge market, highly fragmented, tons of growth and tailwinds.
Yep.
With enormous operational inefficiencies. And so we said, why don't we actually set up a platform? We'll buy this practice as acquisition 1, but then let's go do 100 more.
Yep.
Because we think there's a market. And so who would have ever thought from that first phone call that would have been the outcome? But had we not kind of gone through this Thrive Playbook and just laid it all out there, we would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
And so and I remember it was just, we basically saw it, looked at it, kind of did a review of it all. And we all just kind of looked at each other and said, yes, go.
Yep.
What do you need? Right. And then it became how fast can we set it up? What do we need to set it up? And who's going to do it? And Jimmy and I are like, we have actually so much conviction in this that we'll actually do it. We'll set it up.
Well, that for me was what fired me up. When you said, hey, we'll go run this, I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because we'd gone and done it before.
Right.
And so I'm like, I know how Matt operates. When he goes, there's no skid marks. He's going to send it. And I think, kind of going into it, that thesis of, fragmented market, single or, couple of practice owners, inefficiencies left and right, and aggregating those and organizing them and institutionalizing them. And going back to mission and vision and values and leadership, I remember, maybe we'd acquired Marston's practice, but you had the deck. And I remember Dave sitting in and looking at the board meeting. We had a board meeting. I don't know if we'd even acquired a practice yet.
Right.
And it felt like we were a, $500 million, billion company. You guys had put so much care and so much consideration into this is the type of company we want to build.
Yeah.
These are the values. This is kind of what we're about. And I look back now, and the faster we go, the more those values and that vision and that foundation matter.
Yeah.
because you're bringing in all sorts of new people that potentially have different vision and different values, and they need to understand them. And we need to get on the same page and kind of organize around them, or it's not going to be a great outcome.
Yeah. I mean, central to the Thrive Playbook and how we do things is you got to know your why. You have to.
Yeah.
If you're going to go fast and hard, you better be able to center and anchor around something that is firm. And, you know, companies throw around mission statements and core values. And as you know, there's sometimes nice artwork or pictures or pages on a wall, right? Or a deck. But if you can create a culture that actually lives and breathes by those things, that can last through the ups and downs of the grind. Because it's a hard grind to build something. But if the why motivates you, and by you and through your extension, your team and the people that you bring on, that's lasting.
Yeah.
And that's, and we really focused on it way ahead of when we needed to.
Yeah.
Like you said, we may not have even had a practice.
It was early.
It was very early, but we focused on it, and it served us well.
It set the tone. It set the tone. And I think the reason this was so profound to me, you know, I had never founded a company before. I'd been entrepreneurial my whole career. Sales is very entrepreneurial. Vivint was a very entrepreneurial organization. There's a lot of autonomy within business units to, you know, act as a business owner. But I'd never been responsible for payroll. I'd never been, you know, signed on leases. I'd never done a lot of those things. And we started Sandlot, and it was just at a time where it just took off. And through that process, you know, we were just going hard. We were going fast. And I remember just how, like, one of your strengths was the mission, vision, values, budgeting, and just how important cash management, budgeting has to do at resource allocation and being deliberate about resource allocation. And so at the same time that you were doing it for Allevio, you were doing it for us. And we were meeting earlier today, going through that 18 months later, and I was just like, we are a different organization because we've got that in place. And we look at it on a weekly and a monthly basis, like by tracking those numbers and being deliberate. It's 100% added institutional capabilities to our business. And so it's been fun to me, you know, at this point to see multiple companies put the Thrive Playbook in place.
Yeah.
But it's one thing to like go have a consulting project.
Right.
Implementation is very, very, very different. Implementation takes a lot of work, coming back to what you said you were going to do, following up. You know what I mean?
Well, we're so accustomed to instant gratification. Like you said, I like to go fast and hard too. And so, but you have to remember that it's the small, basic, simple things that you do over and over and consistently well over long periods of time that make the difference. When you talk about like how far Sandlot's come along in a couple year period, go back to those early, like the things that we were grinding through, right? They've set the foundation and they've stuck. Because we kept at it, we kept doing it and building it.
They just become who you are.
And they become who you are, such that when you look back over 18 months or 2 years, you can't even imagine that you used to live without
100%,
it. Right?
100%.
And this is so important for businesses and for us as individuals, a health and fitness goal, you know, a relationship goal with your marriage, spiritual goals and spirituality, right? I mean, it's hard. And sometimes you do need a kind of an outside third party to help you see it and grind through it. But man, if you can put some very basic, consistent foundational pieces in place over years, it's crazy. This is not my quote, but I live by this. We overestimate what we can do in a day, but we grossly underestimate what we can do in a year. And if you can really take hold of that, man, miracles happen.
Yeah.
And you look back over those long stretches on being consistent on things, and it's just amazing. But we always want the instant. We want the quick fix.
Yeah.
That's not how magic happens.
Yep. I've been thinking about this idea of creation and this idea of two creations. And the fun part for me about business is that you just have this freedom to create. You know, your limitations are your resources and your initiative. It's your creativity. And I think about this Allevio one, and it was an idea.
Right.
But it was like thoughts are things. The second that idea pops up, I don't know if you ever had any doubt that it would be right where it's at today. Because I haven't. The second that we decided to do it, there was full certainty. It's not a question of if we're going to go roll these up.
Yeah.
Like it will happen, and it's happened and happening. So talk to me about that, because it's been a year and it
I as much as I love to strategize, plan, organize, be thoughtful. We talk about the Thrive Playbook. Action trumps it all.
Yeah, just massive action.
And really our ability to differentiate ourselves is all about can we move faster and take action and move the ball forward faster than anyone else. And there's a huge advantage to that. So with Allevio, man, I still believe that there are the majority that can't yet see where it's going, or they want to believe it, but and to your point, those of us that are in it, taking the action, we have no doubt.
Yeah.
We have no doubt of where it's going and how big and how fast and how great it can become. By the way, that doesn't mean that it's not really hard. Doesn't mean that it's not a really big grind. It doesn't mean that there's not really crazy things that come about and you're like, oh crap, and you have to solve and all. But isn't that true of everything?
Kind of anything worth doing.
Anything.
Yeah. Everything
so
for sure.
But there's not a doubt.
Yeah.
And it's there. The ideas are there, the team's there, and the action is what sets us apart, it's why there is no doubt.
So from the day you got started till today, revenue went from 0 revenue to we should finish the year with what?
Just probably on a $100 million run rate collections.
On a $100 million run rate.
Yeah.
Kind of a low to mid-teens EBITDA run rate.
Yep.
So you got kind of a really nice business.
Yep.
How many total practices? How many total physicians?
Yeah. So today that we own at this very moment, there's just under 50 practices.
It's incredible.
The number of providers sits at 70. Okay. If you include those that we have under contract, right? Deals that are, signed up and we're in diligence, and we don't close every deal. Diligence is, you do diligence for a reason.
Yeah.
But if you include those that are under contract, it's double that. So our first year anniversary was July 1st.
You think 100 plus practices?
Yeah.
See, that's insane. I mean, it's literally like a practice a week, a practice every 5 days.
Yeah. And what we're now adding to our inorganic growth mix is acquisitions will continue to be hugely relevant and a part of it, but we're now going to be adding, we'll just go set up a practice.
Yeah.
And then we'll get good enough and the data will show which, does it make more sense to buy or does it make more sense to build?
Yeah.
And we're going to do the machine is getting bigger and smarter and better, every month.
Yeah. So exciting.
So, and all the trends are there.
But what's the vision? What's the end? When you look at the end, when you look back and say, I'm proud of this, what does that look like? You know what I mean? When you talk about seasons of life.
Yeah.
When this season is over for you and you're looking back at that season of work, what do you hope that it looks like and you accomplished?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that question by telling you what the Allevio mission is. And then I'm going to tell you the 3 things that we're doing to achieve that mission.
Awesome.
Okay. The mission of Allevio is to empower healing anywhere. That's a big, bold, broad statement. We love the word empower. It means a lot of things. Okay. Healing means a lot of things. That's not just for the sick or afflicted patient, but healing can include the provider that might not find meaning in their work or might not have a legacy to leave behind.
Yeah.
Healing can be an employee that's part of a cog in a wheel that all of a sudden gains real conviction about how their cog impacts the greater.
Yeah.
So healing's a big, broad word. And then the word anywhere. We think about going to the doctor and going to an office location. And that certainly will be the case, but anywhere includes anywhere. People need healing, and sometimes going to an office location is not practical or possible or convenient.
Yep.
And so we're building a platform that can deliver that mission. And we do it in 3 ways. One, we have to build a best-in-class platform. So you asked me, after this season of life, what am I going to be really proud of? If I can say that yes to these 3 questions, I'll feel really proud. One, did we build a best-in-class platform? That means a platform that can continue to sustain, scale, and adapt, right? That's not tied to me, not tied to any one person or group or individual. It's big and broad and sustainable, best in class. 2, it's crazy growth.
Yeah.
We think about growth inorganically, acquiring, building, et cetera, and we think about it organically. The stuff we own, is it growing?
Yeah.
Is it getting better? So growing, just crazy. And then the 3rd, do we deliver value for everyone involved? Everyone involved is an employee, a vendor, a commercial insurance payer, a doctor, an investor, a lender, right? Did we create value for them?
Amazing.
If it's yes to those 3 questions, Casey,
yeah,
I'll feel really proud of this season of life.
No, it's been fun. There's a lot. I love all deals. Like, I'm a deal junkie.
Yeah.
But this one's like particularly fun. You don't get, most of the time when you're invested in a deal, the machine's been built, you know, and you're just getting a ride on a rocket ship. You're finding an amazing operator. And this has been a unique one in that it was kind of founder's equity. You know what I mean? It was kind of saying, hey, like, we have the right people and the right resources. We got equity. We got debt relationships. We got the expert in medical. We got the finance and leadership and management team. Could we go build something? And yeah, it's early innings, but it's so fun to be a part of it.
Well, can we build something from nothing?
From nothing.
From nothing. And that's
and not just build it from nothing, like
thing.
Build it from nothing and go fast.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm around so many people. I've got a buddy that he is doing private equity full time. And I don't think he's done a deal in 3 years. One deal.
Right.
And every time I talk to him, we have an LOI on this deal. We've got this. And they just, for whatever reason, don't ever do deals.
Right.
And it's fascinating to me. I'm like, for me, I'm like, if you're in this world, go do a deal,
go create,
or go do something else. You know what I mean? But it's interesting. So, talk to me about leadership. When you go and you say, hey, these are the best leaders I've ever met. These are the leaders that impacted me the most. This is what I learned from them, or these are the characteristics I had. Who are those people in your life?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'll describe some of the people in my life that would characterize, but let me define it for you, because I think I define leadership very differently. I think sometimes people ascribe roles or titles, right, or positions, or previous successes, right, or they're a good speaker or motivation. Like, I think that sometimes people think that that's what leaders do, or that's what a leader is.
Yeah.
To me, leadership actually is very much about, can they themselves constantly get better and improve and progress? And then the leadership part of it is, can they then help others do the same?
Yeah, fascinating.
And I define leadership that way. So when I think about who are the people that are that to me, meaning they themselves are constantly improving and they're helping me or the people around them improve.
That. Yeah.
That's leadership.
Yep.
So besides great family members and individuals that help me get better, I've been blessed with a number of mentors, right, who I think exude great leadership. But I think that's usually what, your guests on this podcast might answer. I'm going to give you a curveball. Let me talk about some of the people that to me have just been inspirational and have shown great leadership that are not who you would think. Okay. There's an individual in Granbury, Texas. Okay. Not educated, no college degree, who has worked in the accounting department of various oil field services companies. And there was a season in which one of them was extremely distressed. And I had the opportunity to go in and help turn it around and help try and save it. This individual leaned in and took an overwhelming situation, but tripled down on her desire to go get educated, get training.
Yeah.
And then she lifted her team around her to do things at an institutional level. When she had no training, she was just listening, believing, and hoping that it would work. And she created just this entire group of people that I would replace today in terms of, at some of my companies for accounting, controller, even CFO type levels. She's not a CPA, no accounting training, whatever, but she just lifted individuals, single mother, just incredible leader. And it's just this energy, first in the office, last out, working on the weekend, just this energy, and her team just thrived on it.
They loved it.
Man, I found so much, I learned so much from her during that season of my life that I've used to help others. That's huge leadership. That's an example. I'm a sports guy too. I've had great coaches growing up who taught me about, really, we all have the same amount of time. Some people are blessed with, they're stronger, they're faster, they're bigger, they're better.
Yeah.
But we all have the same amount of time, right? And how you use that time matters. And so, that type of learning is just great leadership. But those are some of the ways that I think about when I reflect on it.
Yeah.
And then I again, as a dad, as a brother, as a son, as a husband, right? What am I doing? What is my energy doing to help those loved ones progress and get better? And that's something I have to constantly think about
this John Maxwell principle. He wrote a book called The 21 Laws of Leadership. Mm-hmm. And one of the principles he described, it just captures what you're saying. It's the law of the lid. Mm-hmm. And it basically said, if you are a 7, that you're never going to attract 8s, 9s, and 10s. That your leadership lid is going to be capped at your ability to progress. And it kind of captures what you said was job number 1 is to raise your own leadership lid. Mm-hmm. And then the second one is to pour your heart into others and help them progress.
Right.
But I think the thing that was key for him that, I learned this in an intimate way is for your team to grow, you've got to grow.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to be any more, they're not going to work any harder. They're not going to be any more driven. They're not going to be any more creative. They're not going to be any more than you are. You know what I mean? And I think to expect that you're going to hire people to go fill those roles is to be naive.
Correct.
Like they're going to follow the leader.
Yep.
Yeah. So fascinating. So talk to me about your marriage. Mm-hmm. How is that factored in this journey of Wall Street, entrepreneurship, the highs of the highs and the accolades, the lows of the lows?
Yeah.
Like how is that kind of foundational piece factored or mattered?
I've been blessed with just a force of nature, amazing individual. We met in college before I served a mission. We were very close and dated before, and was able to come back and date her again, and steal away some of the boyfriends that she had during the mission, and we ended up getting married. But Holly and I have I've been blessed with just an incredible relationship. We both love truth. And so in a relationship, as you know, we're imperfect.
Yeah.
And even when we're trying, we sometimes let the other side down, and being able to work through those things truthfully and transparently and progress is helpful. And you have to understand there's different seasons of life in a relationship. And especially with kids, the different seasons of life require a different type of, spousal relationship.
Yeah.
And different commitments. And obviously work and providing and going through all those things is something that requires sacrifice, much more sometimes for the wife than the husband, in certain circumstances. And so acknowledging that and working through that and renegotiating, the trade-offs and what are the needs and all those things. You just have to be fluid and keep going. And again, it goes back to what's the definition of thriving? It's just advancing the ball, progressing together.
But have you seen that? Cause like the older I get, the more my friends are getting divorced. Mm-hmm. Statistically it's flip a coin if it's going to work. And I think about this a lot because me and Chelsea were 20 years this year. That relationship is like the most foundational part of my life. Like I think about everything good that's come to me in life, and so much of it is built off of that relationship. But then we have friends that's the exact opposite. That there's tremendous amount of pain, tremendous amount of letdown. And there's that question of like, why does it work? And why does it not work? And what's the work that each side needs to do to make it special? Because what you're describing is seasons of life. And I think about that with me and Chels. We're different creatures today, 20 years later than we were when we got married. Different hobbies, different interests, different mindsets. Like we're actually very, very different, but we're closer than we've ever been and more intimate than we've ever been and more connected. And so I think it's, for me, I know what I'm doing and what's worked for us, but I'm fascinated when I see like great marriages.
Yeah. I think of a few different principles that have served us really well. One, foundational. You got to be able to forgive and forget. I think forgiveness and forgetting is a key element to that.
Just not holding grudges. Yeah.
You just got to forgive and forget. And the longer it takes to get to that point, obviously the harder it is. And so if you can both commit to forgiving and forgetting quickly.
Was that a learned behavior? Or was that always easy for you guys?
So we received pretty specific counsel on that core tenet from the very beginning.
Wow.
And we took it to heart. It stuck when we heard it. Like it hit us.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's
very specific.
That's very specific. It rings true. And like, that makes a lot of sense.
Is this from a parent? Is this from a church leader? Like who's giving you this counsel saying like, hey, this in your marriage, you need to do this?
Yeah. The forgiving and forgetting came from our sealer.
That's so cool.
So we
How
heard
special.
That. Yeah, it was amazing. So that I believe that is true for all relationships, but man, for your spouse, nothing more important, because as you know, the grudges or the words we hold in our minds and our hearts when we're let down, when we're hurt, even justifiably hurt, meaning they did something that was justifiably dumb and wrong.
Yep.
The longer you hold, it's poison.
It's poison. And we talked about earlier, it spins.
It spins.
You just kind of.
It spins. And so and it's a proactive, it's an active thing. Forgiving and forgetting is not reactive. It's
you got to work.
It's an action.
Yep.
It doesn't just have, so forgiving and forgetting quickly has always served us well. I think there's a core tenet to a good relationship. Okay. That's one. Two, I go back to truth and transparent. We talked about it, but in a marriage, open communication is just such a core foundational component. That part, as much as I love truth and transparency when it comes to business, personally, I grew up where things were brushed under a rug.
Yeah, you didn't talk about it.
You didn't talk about it. The uncomfortable stuff, you don't talk about.
You think it's generational thing or just a family dynamic, or what do you?
I think it's generational, but for my family, that
was how it was.
It's how it was.
Yeah.
And so I had to actually work really hard at this.
To do this.
But Holly was amazing.
Because I would say that's a strength of yours.
Yeah.
Like I actually think you're really good at it.
I find myself really good at it from a business sense.
Not harder on the home front.
Yeah. Just because that's how. So she has been amazing at recognizing it and calling it out, not in a derogatory way, but very early on, just saying like, we got to communicate, and basically with patience working with me to get really good at it. And I would say right now we're really good at it. I think it's full transparency and open communication about all things: silly, important, deep, hurtful, scary. Like and that communication is really important. And then the third thing, among many other things that I think about, Holly actually just referenced, she made a comment to me recently in the last couple of weeks. And she's like, one of the things that we've done, she's a runner. She's a marathoner, incredible runner. She's one of the few people that I know that has an actual 10 streak for the Boston Marathon. So that's qualifying and running the Boston Marathon 10 consecutive years. It's called the 10 streak. So she's a serious runner. She can't run marathons anymore because she has a back injury. But because of that passion, I got into running on my level. And I've run some marathons, but on my level, it's not crazy.
But she's elite.
But she's like really good, like good. Okay. But we got into a habit early on in our life where we would go for a morning run almost every morning. Now, when I'm traveling, it doesn't work or whatever, but like most mornings we go for a morning run together. And she made the comment that she really believes that time, that even if it's 30 minutes every day, and then we're off. She goes this way, I'm going to work. It's just like whatever. But that connection, that way and whether it starts a day, ends a day, that connection, which is not distracted connection. We're running together. You're not on your screen or sitting at dinner doing what, like that connection point, even if we're not like having long conversations, the way we end our run, we usually end our run about a quarter of a mile from our home. And we walk the last quarter of a mile.
Yeah, you just chat.
And that walking, usually you're thinking whatever. And that's the time when she's able to really say, hey, Matt, I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
Or I've had these feelings about this thing. And I think we need to do that. That's been just incredibly powerful. So whatever that is for you and I would just say, find whatever that is and do it.
Yeah.
So, and again, we have our own deep convictions and have seen immense blessings from, we try to, go to the temple a lot and do those types of, those three things is what I would say.
But that was actually my next question is talk to me about faith.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how faith is factored in the journey.
It's been everything. I mean, it's the cornerstone. We value our relationship with God on par with our relationship with each other. We do our very best to always prioritize that, which includes all the things that you can name, but we're actively serving and we're committed to doing our best for God. In fact, our family motto that Holly came up with, that's just stuck from very young age with our kids were young. Do your best for the Lord. Period. So cool. And that's our motto. And that applies to every single thing in life.
Yeah.
Do your best. For who? Don't do your best to get, your teacher or your coach to give you a high five. Don't do your best, even for me or you as a family member. Do your best for the Lord. And if you're doing your best for the Lord, man, things will line out. things were going to work out. So faith has been everything.
It's just always been there. It's always been kind of the cornerstone.
Yeah.
Has it ever been shaken?
So have we gone through difficult things of a spiritual nature or a faith nature? Of course. Very difficult. Personally, I have never, doubting is one of the things that I just haven't been plagued with. And I don't think that's because of anything I'm doing. I just think that's one of my blessings. But I have close family members who that's a real challenge and a real struggle. And as a parent, there's nothing more challenging and struggling than when faith or belief or hope or the love of God, right, becomes shakeable.
Yeah.
That's an immense challenge.
Yeah. So good, brother. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming out. Care about you a lot, respect you a lot. And it's been so fun to go build a business with you. And it's just, when I think about like my personal excellence and my personal journey, so much of my growth is being around people that I admire. It's amazing how when you're just around excellent people, you are nudged to level up and be a little bit better, be a little bit more professional, show up with a little better energy. And I think you encompass a lot of those things. Professionalism, great vibes, can-do energy, believing in people more than they believe in themselves. When I go to my core of who are the people that I'm drawn to, it's people that love people that you can feel that they just want to lift others and help them grow. Those are the ones, that's my people. And it's been fun to watch you in that role, do that and inspire others. So always pulling for you and grateful for you coming and spending some time.
Casey, it's a real honor and a pleasure to be on here. Thanks for having me on. And likewise, love building together. And you have a special energy yourself that I'm grateful for.
Oh, thanks, my man. This podcast is brought to you by Sandlot Partners.